Hey folks, this is Kalani. Now that the pre-patch has been unleashed and we're all getting set up for Shadowlands, it looks like the dev team has turned back to updating the beta. We have quite a few big changes in the latest build, including a complete reshuffle of the soulbind system. The experience required to level has been changed yet again. We have some more progression to work on in the Moor and Torghast, and a rather pointed nerf for the Mythic Plus Dungeon crowd. So let's break it all down and see what's changing. Before we jump in, be sure to pop by our live stream sometime over at twitch.tv/KalaniTV. We stream every Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday and Saturday, and we always love chatting with you wonderful folks, so I hope to see you soon. Let's kick things off with the soulbind changes, because this is both a pretty big change and an incredibly important update. Previously, every soulbind would end with a major talent or trait, the big one, the ultimate power for that given soulbind. It makes sense, right, for the best stuff to be right at the end. Well, the dev team have done a big switcheroo in the soulbind system, and now that big pickup is the very first point for nearly every soulbind. So instead of working up towards the best power, you actually just start with the best power and add on smaller things for the rest of your soulbind progress. This is very similar to how the Azerite gear started. The most powerful and most impactful powers were on the outer rings, which you could access faster, and then as you earned more artifact levels in your heart, you were able to pick up more traits, but they were less powerful overall. The whole idea behind this was to allow you to more freely swap Azerite gear while you were farming neck levels, so it didn't feel as bad when you upgraded a piece of Azerite gear and suddenly couldn't use those inner rings of traits because your heart level wasn't high enough. So with the soulbind change, you start with the good stuff, which means whenever you change soulbind, regardless of your current progress in that soulbind or in your renowned system to unlock more rows of a soulbind, it should start off more powerful than before. I think the main reason the dev team might have made this change is to encourage you to use all three soulbinds for multiple specs, instead of just sticking with one the entire time and swapping your conduits. If a soulbind is very powerful from the start of your progress, it's going to feel like you're losing less power when you swap to it, even if it's not the most ideal soulbind for your specialization. But as we know, we may have to make some hard choices due to the soulbind restrictions. I imagine as we unlock more rows and talents in our soulbind, this problem could return, but there is another factor that comes into play. How many rows you can use in a soulbind is tied directly to your renown. Renown is a weekly grind that is specific to your covenant, so while you do unlock rows in all three of your covenant soulbinds at an even pace, you actually won't unlock anything whatsoever in other covenants. If you decide later on down the road to swap your covenant, your renown progress does not carry over. You don't lose your renown with your previous covenant, it will still be there if you decide to swap back, but your new covenant will start at 0 renown. You've got to grind that thing all over again. The good news here is that there are plenty of catch-up mechanics baked into the system from day one to help you get caught up if you do swap covenants. But imagine if those powerful talents or traits were still at the bottom. You would have a long way to go before you could use them again if you swapped covenants, but now that they're the first point you pick up, that all changes. You could swap to a covenant where you have 0 renown, but you can still benefit from the stronger talent being at the top because you can unlock and use it right away. So I wonder if this change is to maybe dampen the negative effects that swapping covenants still has, and to give a soulbind more meaning and more power right from the get-go. It's an interesting change. I think it worked to a certain degree with Azerite traits, but I think it will actually work better with the soulbind system. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Would you prefer to work towards a powerful bonus like this and have it at the bottom of a tree and be rewarded for that progress, or would you rather get it early so you can make use of it as early as possible? Let's move on to those experience changes. I know we literally just talked about this. We made a table up and everything that showed over the course of the beta, the dev team has changed the required experience to level quite considerably and quite a few times. But all of those changes kind of boiled down to nothing because they ended up exactly where they started with the latest round of changes before today. In that video, I also said I wouldn't be surprised to see even more changes come through because it really just doesn't make make sense to go back to a place where the dev team thought leveling was too fast. So here we are, about a week later, talking about even more experience changes. Hopefully, fingers crossed, this is the last time, because these changes do make sense, and they leave us in a solid middle ground between what the dev team thought was too fast and what was clearly too slow because there just wasn't enough experience to actually hit level 60 with just quests. So, how much did it swing this time? The experience needed for every single level in the Shadowlands questing journey has been increased, sometimes by quite a significant margin. Earlier levels has been increased by about 10%, give or take, while the later levels were increased by about 20%. When you add it all up together, we'll have to earn another 300,000 experience, give or take, and this ends up being an increase of about 15% across the board. That should honestly feel fine. We have to pick up and complete most side quests to reach level 60 on time, but we will actually be able to get there, unlike some older beta builds with the crazy experience requirements. If these values remain until launch, hopefully they will, Shadowlands leveling should be relatively smooth and still quite fast, but not as fast as it was in the early beta days. I personally don't see the need to have a lengthy leveling process, and completing just the main storyline should be adequate, but at least we won't have to do every single side quest, and then even more because we still haven't hit level 60. It is worth noting that alongside these experience hikes, the amount of experience you get per monster killed in Shadowlands from levels 50 to 60 has also been increased by about 10%. That should offset some of these changes, but leveling will still be slower overall. I guess all we can do at this point is wait and see if these experience requirements hit the mark for the dev team, because we know they obviously haven't been happy with the speed of leveling and questing in general because they keep swapping everything around. Hopefully this time it sticks, but I'll let you know if we get any more experience changes coming through on the beta. Then there are also some new progression options in the Maw and in Torghast as well. All of this is tied to the vendor Venari in the Maw zone, so it's really just reinforcing the fact that Venari is our one and only friend in this monstrous place, and we'll be farming lots and lots of Stygia for them. These upgrades and items are marked as permanent upgrades for either the Maw zone or the Torghast system. The Vessel of Unfortunate Souls will cause your first death in Torghast to not count. That's always going to be useful for your harder runs. The extra dimensional pockets are for Torghast as well, and they'll give you an extra storage space so you can get an extra stack of Obleron armaments. Extra stacks of a buff is always going to be fun, right? Here's one for the Maw zone. Encased Rift Walker Essence enables transportation via chaotic rift stones, which can be found in the Maw. You can actually travel over large distances quite quickly with these rift stones, so this will be an easy, quick pickup for sure to help you get around a bit better without the mounts. The Soul Stabilizing Salve will reduce the duration of the Tormented Soul effect when applied by assassins. Not too sure what that debuff is, but this item will make those mobs easier to deal with by the sounds of things, or at least make their presence less significant. The Ritual Prism of Fortune permanently increases your chance of getting an epic anima power in Torghast, which is actually huge. The epic powers are the most powerful variant, and some of them are absolutely crazy, so increasing the chance to get them is going to let you climb higher faster. The Bangle of Seniority is also for Torghast, and this gives the broker vendors a chance to offer you uncommon options, so just a basic upgrade to the vendors you can find in Torghast. The Talisman of Destined Defiance is another Maw upgrade which gives you the power to overcome the Jailer's Winged Abductors. Another weird one, but I'm assuming you'll be able to save yourself from being dragged away in the clutches of the Mawsworn. That has to be somewhat useful, otherwise it wouldn't be on the vendor, right? The Rank Insignia Acquisitionist gives broker vendors a chance to offer you rare options, so another upgrade to the vendors in Torghast. Honestly, the vendors will probably end up being the source for most of your power in Torghast runs at this rate, especially as you start to upgrade them. The Possibility Matrix isn't new, but it's worth covering again, I guess, seeing as we're going through these upgrade items. This one will ensure you always have at least 2 options to pick from when you use an Anima Horde. This is also going to be a game-changing upgrade when you get it, because opening an Anima Horde and only seeing one option is never exciting, and always having 2 just gives you more chances to get the good stuff. And then the last item that's new here is the Loop of Unusual Charm. While in Torghast, a broker vendor may offer you 1 free Anima Horde. Free anima powers? Sign me up, and yet another upgrade for the vendors. All of these items are tied to the Venari vendor and will cost Stygia, which you can only get in the Maw Zone and Torghast, so you'll probably be spending quite a bit of time down here. These items also have a friendship or reputation requirement tied to them, so you'll be wanting to make friends with Venari quite quickly. And then we also have a nerf to something kind of funny. If you remember a couple of builds ago, there was an interesting change to how drinking water and mana regeneration works. In the Shadowlands expansion, when you first sit down to drink water, your mana will regen slowly and will increase as you stay sat down and as you continue to drink. So you won't really get a big benefit from drinking water or eating food unless you sit down for a longer period of time. It's a bit weird. Feedback on it hasn't been great, and overall players don't seem to like it too much, or just don't see the point in the change. But there was one huge, glaringly obvious elephant in the room regarding this change: the sugar-crusted fish feast. These fish feasts were already being used in mass quantities by serious Mythic Plus Dungeoneers because they replenish mana and health incredibly quickly, and they work with a percentage of your health and mana instead of straight values. This means two things. First, the fish feasts would always be awesome no matter what, and second, the water drinking nerf did absolutely nothing to those fish feasts, and I guess the dev team doesn't like that. Brace yourselves, if you like these fish feasts, I have some bad news. They will join the rest of the old consumables with a level cap on using them. You will not be able to use any sugar crusted fish feasts if you are above level 50. So as soon as you start leveling in Shadowlands, that's it. Boom, done. Can't use them anymore. So that plan just went out of the window, and I don't want to cause a panic or anything, but if you were stockpiling the Darkmoon fish needed for this feast, or the feasts themselves hoping they would stick around in Shadowlands at endgame and you could make a quick bit of gold, you might want to take a look at your current stock. The feasts won't be usable at all in Shadowlands, and while there is a new feast that uses the Dagger Maw fish, there is currently no benefit to using it because it provides you with the same health and mana regen as a standard large meal from Shadowlands cooking. The percentages are gone, so it's just straight mana and health, which means it would be affected by the drinking nerf. The price of those fish is probably going to crash and burn, so hopefully you weren't relying on that at all. But anyway, the main takeaway here is that for some reason, Blizzard really wants healers to sit down and drink for longer periods of time when they need mana, especially in Mythic Plus dungeons. And that's it for this video. What do you think of the required experience to level changing yet again, and this time making leveling slower overall? How about the nerf to the sugar-crusted fish feast and the last hope healers had of quickly regenning their mana in dungeons? And do you think having the most powerful talents or traits of the soulbind at the top of the tree is better than the bottom, so that even if you have to swap soulbind or even covenant, you have something strong to work with right from the get-go? Leave all your thoughts in the comment section below. If you want to help us get ready for Shadowlands, or maybe just ask us a couple questions, you can find us over at twitch.tv/KalaniTV. We stream every Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday and Saturday at 12 PM PST, and watching the stream and coming to say hi is one of the best ways you can support the channel right now. And if you ever wanted to be included in the long list of names at the end of every video, a subscription on Twitch is the easiest way to make that happen. You get a free sub to any Twitch channel if you have Amazon Prime too, so be sure to take advantage of that. A big thank you to everyone who subscribed on Twitch already, and to our supporters over on Patreon. You can see their names floating by on screen. If you want to join these lovely guys and gals, well, now you know how. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.